Hello, everyone. I'm Kahir Lalji, based out of Burnaby, British Columbia, or the traditional lands of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam peoples. I'll start off with maybe suggesting that the phenomenon of loneliness and social prescribing as a programmatic intervention is not homogeneous. Variables like culture, language, gender identity, poverty, age all affect the way one may feel or experience loneliness. As a result, support systems need to be meaningful and relevant to the individual receiving support or receiving care. I'm going to hone in on how social prescribing in British Columbia supports older British Columbians. In a recent study done in Vancouver, British Columbia, 1 in 3 older people over the age of 65 did not have someone to talk to in the case of an emergency, let alone go for a walk with or share a meal with. We also recognized that things like language, culture, loss of identity, loss of personhood, all amplified feelings of loneliness, cultural loneliness, linguistical loneliness. And as a result, we've been able to see by talking to many older British Columbians the impact of social prescribing, including my own family. I was raised by my maternal grandmother. And in the South Asian culture, there is a piece of clothing called a sari that traditionally those that identify as female wear. My grandma had 400 saris, so she never wore the same sari twice in a year. As um, as she aged, she had a stroke about 10 years ago. And as a result of that stroke, she had vascular dementia, and her cognitive decline started at that point. Now, she had a great system, a care system in place. She had a geriatrician, a family physician, she had home care, but something was missing. She was struggling on how to remember to put on a sari. She resorted to her mother tongue of Sindhi, which none of us knew. Through this, her sense of belonging, her loss of identity, her self-esteem was fundamentally impacted. It wasn't until we found a group of Sindhi elder ladies in our local community that came once a week to help her wear a sari, engage in a conversation of her traditional language, go for a walk with her, that we saw her quality of life start to shift fundamentally. And it was because of this type of intervention, complementary to the health system, it is because of this intervention that her life completely shifted in terms of enhancing the quality of life of her later years. This example is not unique to myself or to my family. This is the case of many older British Columbians I've had the honor of being able to engage with and talk to. Social prescribing as an intervention is a preventative upstream approach that really puts the person at the center of the conversation. In British Columbia, we've been able to use this framing as health promotion and health prevention, illustrated by case studies of older people, but also leveraging family physicians and the concept of right to care to advance social prescribing as one of the leading programmatic interventions to support older people to age at home in community for as long as they wish to do so. As a result of some of this work, we've been able to amplify and scale out social prescribing across the province of British Columbia in partnership with many different stakeholders, because people see the value of being able to engage in meaningful and relevant activities that is meaningful and relevant to that particular individual. Sometimes when we look at intervention, sometimes when we look at programs, we tend to put a homogenizing effect on some of those programs and policies. And I would suggest that our work needs to be centered around the meaningful engagement of the person that's receiving care, regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of culture, regardless of language. With that, I'd like to thank you for listening to my examples and the way that we're supporting older British Columbians through social prescribing.